The rumors are no longer just whispers. The palace has finally confirmed heartbreaking news about Princess Beatrice, and it's more serious than anyone expected. For years, they stayed silent, but now the truth is out. What they revealed could change Beatrice's royal future forever. Here's what we know. The moment they could no longer stay silent. It didn't start with headlines. It started with hushed voices inside Buckingham Palace, urgent meetings behind closed doors, and mounting pressure no longer containable. For weeks, aides and senior officials had tried to deflect attention from Princess Beatrice, but the whispers were growing louder. Leaks were multiplying, the media was circling, and public scrutiny was building fast. Then, everything shifted during a confidential strategy session in early October 2025, when palace advisors agreed on one chilling truth. The silence was doing more damage than the truth ever could. According to sources close to St. James's Palace, Beatrice was informed of the decision just 48 hours before the statement was made public. She reportedly sat in stunned silence, asking only one question: how far will this go? The announcement came quietly, but the impact was immediate. Released via official channels at 8 a.m. on a Thursday, the palace confirmed Beatrice's personal challenges amidst ongoing scrutiny involving close family associations. It didn't name names, but it didn't have to. Everyone knew it was connected to Prince Andrew's deepening legal troubles and the growing public demand for transparency over his financial dealings, some of which, it's now confirmed, indirectly touched Beatrice through inherited trusts and shared properties. The palace didn't accuse her of wrongdoing, but they could no longer protect her with silence. The tone of the statement was deliberate, restrained, regretful, but firm. It acknowledged difficult circumstances affecting Princess Beatrice's public standing, and signaled a review of her role within the extended royal structure. Inside the royal household, reactions were mixed. Some described the moment as a necessary reckoning. Others felt it was a betrayal, especially given how hard Beatrice has worked to build her own life outside of royal expectations. One aide said, "She's not the problem, but she's the collateral damage." Within minutes, the media had seized it. Headlines screamed across British and international outlets. "The York princess caught in the crossfire," one read. "Beatrice dragged into palace cleanup," claimed another. The royal family's attempt to stay quiet had failed, and now they were bracing for fallout. But what exactly was being revealed? And why did it matter so much now? What exactly was revealed? What the palace confirmed wasn't criminal, but it was damning enough. For years, Princess Beatrice had carefully built an image of quiet duty, working in finance, staying out of scandals, marrying in a modest ceremony during the pandemic. But now, that image is under threat because of who she's tied to and how far those ties go. According to reports from Geo News and Yahoo UK, the palace confirmed that Beatrice is linked financially and reputationally to ongoing investigations surrounding Prince Andrew's offshore holdings and disputed property agreements. While she had no active role in any of her father's dealings, she remains a named beneficiary in at least 2 trust funds under review. This shifts her from innocent bystander to indirect participant, not by action, but by proximity. And that's all it took. Royal protocol is clear. If the perception of impropriety exists, action must be taken to protect the crown. The palace also clarified Beatrice's current status. She is not a working royal, nor does she receive taxpayer funds. However, her name appears in official communications, and she occasionally represents the family at charitable events. The palace now admits her visibility may need to be reviewed in light of recent revelations. This wasn't just about her father's disgrace. It was about how the sins of one generation threaten the future of the next. Beatrice, through no direct fault of her own, is now seen as a reflection of the monarchy's failure to draw clear boundaries between private family and public duty. The news also brings up a painful question. How much of Beatrice's identity has been shaped by the scandal she was born into? From the moment she entered royal life in 1988, she has lived in the shadow of her parents' turbulent headlines, Sarah Ferguson's scandals, Andrew's disgrace, and now this. One royal watcher described it this way: she tried to be different. But the past always catches up. The public reaction? Confused, emotional, divided. Some sympathize deeply, seeing Beatrice as a victim of circumstances. Others argue that accountability applies to everyone, even royals by blood, not by position. Now, she faces the ultimate royal dilemma. Who is she without the palace's protection? Next, we look at the emotional toll, what this moment has done to Beatrice personally, and what it might cost her going forward. Beatrice's emotional fallout. The palace statement may have been composed and measured, but for Princess Beatrice, the emotional fallout was anything but. Behind her calm public image lies a woman now caught in the middle of a storm she didn't create, yet one that threatens to define her forever. Sources close to the family say Beatrice was devastated, not just by the public confirmation, but by the implication that her character, her judgment, and her integrity were now under scrutiny. She reportedly broke down in tears after being briefed on the full content of the palace statement. One friend told The Telegraph, "It felt like a betrayal. She's always done the right thing, and now she's paying the price for everyone else's mistakes." Beatrice's relationship with her father, Prince Andrew, has always been close. She was just 4 years old when he and Sarah Ferguson divorced. In the years that followed, she became one of Andrew's few public defenders. But now, that loyalty comes with consequences. Insiders say recent conversations between Beatrice and Andrew have turned tense. She still loves him, one aide shared, but she's starting to understand that protecting him is costing her too much. The strain isn't limited to her father. There's tension with Princess Eugenie, too, her younger sister, who has taken a more outspoken and progressive path in recent years. While the sisters have always been close, Eugenie has reportedly urged Beatrice to distance herself from family drama. The emotional toll of choosing between family unity and personal reputation is wearing Beatrice thin. Behind the scenes, Beatrice is said to be struggling with public anxiety and deep frustration. She's built a life far from royal drama, working in private finance, raising her daughter Sienna, and avoiding interviews. But now, the attention she's avoided is impossible to ignore. Cameras follow her every move. Reporters circle her London office. Paparazzi wait outside her home. She's not just fighting to protect her name, she's fighting to protect her future, her ability to work, to parent, and to be seen as her own person. As one former palace staffer said, she's in a position where silence makes her complicit, but speaking out could tear the family apart. And all of this is happening under the weight of public expectation. To remain graceful, to remain composed, to remain royal. But the question is, how long can she carry that weight before it breaks her? As we move forward, we ask, why now? What forced the palace to act at this very moment? The timing may not be a coincidence. Timing. Why now? The question on everyone's mind isn't just what the palace revealed about Princess Beatrice, it's why now. Why break the silence in October 2025 after months, even years, of calculated quiet? The answer lies in a perfect storm of timing, pressure, and royal crisis management. Let's start with the context. In the past 6 weeks, headlines surrounding Prince Andrew have intensified dramatically. The Sun and The Guardian published multiple new reports revealing questionable financial transfers connected to properties linked to the Duke of York. At least one of those transfers, according to leaked documents, listed trusts that named Beatrice as a future beneficiary. It wasn't illegal, but it was enough to raise serious questions about how deep her financial ties to her father really go. Add to that a growing list of pressures: public outcry over palace silence, royal critics demanding accountability, and a noticeable decline in public trust. A recent YouGov poll showed over 58% of Brits believe non-working royals should publicly clarify their roles when embroiled in controversy. For the palace, staying quiet was no longer a strategy, it was a risk. There were also legal concerns. Sources claim internal advisors warned that failing to address Beatrice's indirect connection to Andrew's controversies could expose the royal household to unintended reputational damage. Simply put, the longer they waited, the worse it could get. And there was one more layer: King Charles III's tightening control of the monarchy's public face. Since becoming king in September 2022, Charles has been focused on slimming down the monarchy and streamlining royal responsibilities. Beatrice and Eugenie, though technically non-working royals, have always walked a fine line, occasionally representing the family while maintaining private careers. But with every new scandal linked to the York family, that line became harder to defend. One royal advisor shared, "This wasn't just about Beatrice. It was about drawing a line in the sand, saying, 'Enough is enough.'" So the palace made its move, not to attack her, but to protect the bigger institution. Still, the timing hit hard. Multiple royal events, including a charity gala Beatrice was scheduled to attend on October 15th, were quietly removed from the royal diary. Behind the scenes, her public engagements have been frozen until further notice. It wasn't a suspension, but it was a signal that this is serious, and nothing will return to normal until the storm passes. Whether this timing was strategy or survival, one thing is clear: this isn't just Beatrice's problem anymore. It's the monarchy's. Next, we look at the deeper impact, not just on her, but on the entire royal family. The shock is spreading fast. The royal family shockwave. The announcement about Princess Beatrice didn't just send ripples through the media. It triggered a deep, immediate shock across the royal family itself. This wasn't just about her. It was about how far the scandal has spread and how deeply it's fractured the trust between key members of the firm. Sources close to King Charles III reveal that he was informed of the palace's final decision just days before it went public. While he reportedly agreed that action was necessary, the emotional toll was undeniable. Charles has always had a complicated relationship with the York family, balancing royal duty with personal loyalty. But now, with the monarchy's image at risk, he chose the crown over kin. Behind the scenes, there are signs of strain. Meetings at Clarence House have become more frequent, more urgent. Senior staff reportedly held 2 internal briefings the week the news broke, focused solely on managing the backlash. According to one aide, the concern wasn't just Beatrice, it was who's next. And it's not just Charles feeling the heat. Queen Camilla, known for her sharp instincts on palace PR, has been stepping in behind the scenes, urging senior royals to close ranks and avoid further internal leaks. Meanwhile, Whispers from Kensington Palace suggest even Prince William has expressed concern over how far the fallout might go, particularly in relation to Prince Andrew's continued influence behind closed doors. But the real fracture point may be between Beatrice and the broader royal system. Some insiders feel she's been made a scapegoat, a soft target in a bigger cleanup campaign aimed at distancing the monarchy from all things York. One royal biographer said it best. They didn't throw her under the bus. They parked the bus, waited, and then asked her to lie down. And for others still associated with Prince Andrew, this move sets a chilling precedent. No one is untouchable anymore. As this shockwave spreads, one thing becomes clear. The public face of the monarchy may look united, but behind palace walls, the cracks are widening. Next, we examine Beatrice herself, the image the world sees, and the reality she's now forced to live with. Public role versus private reality. For years, Princess Beatrice was praised for being exactly what the monarchy needed: quiet, graceful, and scandal-free. She was the normal one, the royal who didn't chase fame, who worked a 9-to-5 job in tech finance, and who rarely made headlines. But now, everything has changed, and so has the public's perception. The truth is, the image of Beatrice was always carefully managed. She appeared elegant at charity events, walked with confidence at Trooping the Color, and smiled politely when asked about royal matters. But behind that composed exterior was a young woman constantly walking the tightrope between family loyalty and personal independence. Now that the palace has confirmed her entanglement, however indirect, in the shadow of Prince Andrew, Beatrice's safe image has shattered, and she's suddenly being seen in a harsher light. Was she too close to the problem? Too quiet when it counted? The consequences are already showing. Her work with several charities, particularly those linked to children's education and mental health, is reportedly on hold. One of her private speaking engagements for a Women in Leadership Summit, scheduled for November 2025, was quietly cancelled last week. This isn't just reputational damage, it's personal. Beatrice built a life outside the palace walls for a reason. She wanted freedom, privacy, and the dignity of normalcy. But now, she's being dragged back into the royal spotlight under conditions completely out of her control. One close friend explained, "She's devastated. She feels like no matter how hard she tries to live a clean life, she'll always be her father's daughter in the public eye." The reality now is cold and clear. The line between Beatrice's private world and public image is gone. She's not just a royal anymore. She's part of the narrative, the symbol of a larger crisis inside the firm. But what comes next? Can she take control of her story, or will the palace reshape it for her? Up next, we dive into the speculation and the quiet plans already being discussed for her future. The speculated next moves. In the wake of the palace's announcement, speculation is swirling. What will Princess Beatrice do next? Behind the scenes, quiet conversations are already unfolding. There's no official plan yet, but multiple sources close to Kensington Palace say that a major shift is on the table. First, a step back from public visibility. Beatrice may withdraw from charity appearances, avoid speaking engagements, and limit social outings in London. Her husband, Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, is reportedly encouraging her to take time away from the spotlight and focus on their family, especially their daughter, Sienna, now 4 years old. Second, insiders suggest a possible rebranding. Beatrice could shift toward private philanthropic work, removing herself from royal platforms entirely. Similar to what Princess Anne once did in the 1990s, She may choose to support causes quietly, without the royal banner attached. Another option being floated: a move abroad, even if temporary. Friends say the couple have considered relocating to Italy, where Edoardo's family holds property, offering privacy and distance from UK tabloids. And yet, there's hesitation. Beatrice has spent her life walking that narrow line between duty and independence. A total withdrawal could be seen as guilt, or worse, exile. Royal commentator Katie Nicholl said it best: "This isn't about titles anymore. It's about survival, personal, emotional, and reputational." The clock is ticking. Every day, Beatrice remains silent. The pressure builds. What the palace does next will speak volumes. Palace strategy: control the damage or come clean. The way the palace handled Beatrice's situation speaks volumes, not just about her, but about the royal family's entire approach to crisis. Was this a bold move toward transparency, or just another attempt at damage control? Insiders confirmed the decision to release a public statement was made during a closed-door crisis meeting held in late September 2025. At the table were senior palace advisors, PR strategists, and legal counsel. Their goal? Stop the bleeding before the story got out of hand. The language of the statement was calculated, careful not to place blame, yet direct enough to show action. But many royal experts argue it was too vague. It confirmed Beatrice's connection to ongoing inquiries, but gave little context. There was no emotional framing, no apology, no defense. This strategy mirrors how the palace has handled past scandals: Prince Andrew, Harry, and Meghan, even Queen Camilla's early public image. The formula is familiar: say enough to silence the press, but never enough to open a full conversation. Critics say this creates more questions than answers. Did the palace act to protect Beatrice? Or to protect themselves? Was she consulted? Or simply informed? One royal aide, speaking anonymously, said, "They wanted control, not clarity. It was never about telling the full truth, just about stopping the fallout." Now, with the world watching, this strategy faces a test. The public is no longer satisfied with half-statements and quiet retreats. And Beatrice? She's stuck in the middle, between a palace that shields itself and a public that demands the full story. Coming next, the media storm explodes and the public picks sides. Public reaction and media storm. As soon as the palace statement dropped, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Major outlets like BBC, Sky News, and The Times covered it within the first hour. But it wasn't the headlines alone that lit the fire. It was the public's emotional response that turned this into a full-blown media storm. On social media, #Princess Beatrice trended across X, Instagram, and TikTok. Some posts were supportive, calling her a victim of royal politics and praising her grace under pressure. Others were harsh, asking why Beatrice remained so silent while the scandal around Prince Andrew grew louder. TikTok creators dissected the statement line by line. Royal commentators held emergency panels. Talk shows from Good Morning Britain to CNN International opened with the same question: is the royal family protecting itself or sacrificing one of its own? What stung even more was the emotional divide. Many young viewers, especially those under 35, said they related to Beatrice, caught between family loyalty and personal responsibility. But older audiences, especially traditional royalists, demanded more. "She can't ride both sides forever," one viral post read. "It's time to choose." This is the cost of public life. Even when you've done nothing wrong. your silence becomes a story. And Beatrice is now at the center of one of the most emotional royal debates in recent memory. But this isn't the end. It may be the beginning of a new royal reckoning. Let's close with what this truly means for Beatrice, for the monarchy, and for the future. Why this could be a defining moment. This isn't just a headline, it's a turning point. For Princess Beatrice, the palace's announcement could change the course of her life. And for the monarchy, it may be a quiet signal that the old way of protecting royals from consequence is coming to an end. Beatrice now faces a choice. Does she fade quietly into the background, stepping away from royal visibility forever? Or does she step forward, reclaim her own narrative, and finally separate herself from the shadow of her father? Either way, her identity has changed. No longer just the reserved York daughter, she's become a symbol of something much larger. The cost of silence, the limits of loyalty, and the emotional fallout of royal duty in the modern era. For the royal family, this moment sets a precedent that even non-working royals are no longer immune to public accountability. That bloodline can't always protect reputation. That transparency, no matter how uncomfortable, may be the only way forward. Royal expert Alistair Bruce said it best. This isn't just about Beatrice. This is about what kind of monarchy we want in the next 50 years, and who's still standing when the dust settles. What happens next will define Beatrice's legacy. Will she emerge stronger, or will this mark the quiet retreat of someone who deserved better? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. The palace can't stay silent anymore, and neither can she. This moment could redefine everything for Princess Beatrice. The palace has spoken. The public is reacting, and the future is uncertain. Whether she steps back or fights forward, one thing is clear. The silence is over. And what comes next may reshape not just her legacy, but the monarchy itself.